it's all Dharma, like we're here to engage and deepen in our Dharma practice, and there's so many different ways to do that. And the Lojong teachings, these wonderful slogans that we study each week, we study one by one each week. We're on number 33 this week because I skipped it a couple weeks ago. I don't know if anybody caught that. I didn't mean to. It was a mistake. You got it?
She caught it.
You got it. Good. Yeah. But all of these Lojong slogans are meant to help us bring our Dharma practice into our life and not just leave it on the cushion when we get up off the cushion. And I know for me it's been very helpful. The whole alchemy of Lojong is very similar to what we were doing in the meditation, which is to bring in adversity or breathe in adversity, face adversity, welcome it in, and then in a sense, what we're doing with this indestructible nature of mind at the heart, this Vajra-like, adamantine, luminous, empty, yet appearing, wish-fulfilling gem at the heart, is we are seeing that at its essence, everything, whether it's suffering or bliss, is vibrating energy, empty yet appearing to our sensory field, whether it's through the eyes, the touch, the taste, the smell, the hearing, the thinking, impressions. All of it is like every appearance, everything that appears to the mind does not have one iota of solid, concrete, independent existence. That everything is full of empty interdependence. Do you see what I'm saying? So that because of that, the so-called suffering out there, we can, in our contemplative practice, bring it into this so-called luminous nature of mind at the heart, and anything can happen in that dimension. Anything. It's not a solid, fixed thing out there that is so freaking dense that it's going to destroy us or devour us and we can't do anything with it in here. And same with the bliss. The bliss doesn't intrinsically exist as a solidly independent existing thing that should be reified and grasped onto at all cost. Have you ever experienced a really great, blissful meditative practice? And the mind, when it experiences that, just goes, just wants to hold on to it and never let go. Or it wants it again and again and again. How am I going to get that again? But what is that? That's grasping at something that's ungraspable. Like a rainbow in the sky. We can't grasp it. But it appears. So when you understand the dreamlike nature of reality, or the empty fullness, the word in Sanskrit is shunyata, which means emptiness, but it's kind of a problematic word that I think a lot of translators and practitioners are always kind of chewing on and trying to come up with a better way to communicate this. Shunyata. Shunya means empty, ta means ness. So it is an accurate translation, but what shunyata is referring to is the lack of a solidly existing permanent selfhood. And when you understand that instead of that, everything is vibrating, everything's luminous, everything is energy. That this solid bell, it looks so solid, but actually if you were to look at it from a quantum physics point of view, it's vibrating energy. And there's infinite space in between the atoms and the electrons and neutrons. And it just becomes like we're looking at the universe, right? There's more space than there is dense matter, actually. So the Buddha was very much a quantum physicist. He was basically saying the same thing that quantum physics is saying now. So what I'm trying to get at in this discussion or this sharing is that Tonglen is possible. It's possible because of shunyata. Because we, as Lojong masters, right? I like to say that we're all kind of becoming ninja Lojong practitioners, the bodhisattva, an awakened being who is here to bring benefit to others. We're not just here doing it for ourselves. A Lojong master realizes that reality is, it's kind of like the Matrix. It's understanding the Matrix. And that I can breathe in Trump's hate or confusion or his own suffering. I can imagine that I'm breathing that in and take it into my heart, in this indestructible, powerful capacity of my heart, and then breathe out healing, compassion, the wish that he sees the light, that I can practice with Trump. And I can do it with love and compassion, even though I may not agree with him and his methods. He is our practice right now. That's what I'm trying to say. We have to practice with him. We have to practice with people like him. We can't just practice for the fuzzy kittens, right? We have to have the courage to practice with the people who do us harm. But in order to do that, what do we have to do first? Especially those who have been coming for a long time. I want to hear from you. Yes, we have to work with ourselves. He pointed to his heart. We have to learn how to breathe in our own terror, or our own anger, our own self-deprecating thoughts, whatever that is that we have inside of us. We have to learn how to say, okay, there's nowhere else to go. I finally have to stop struggling and pushing it away, but actually let it in. And what does it need to say? Oh, it needs to say that. Allow space for it to be there and to communicate and to reveal what the healing is, right? So if I'm working with, say I'm working with an addiction, so-called demon, right? Like an affliction of craving, and it's craving a substance that just feels like it's devouring me and not leaving me alone, that it's ruling my life. I can imagine in the Tonglen practice that I breathe that need, that craving into the space of the heart, and I'm aerating my heart with the breath. I'm breathing it in to the space of the heart, transforming it, and then breathing out whatever the remedy is for me in that situation. So for me, if it were craving like a cigarette or something, because I used to be addicted to cigarettes, and I breathe in this craving, this need, that deep want and addiction, then maybe breathing out contentment. I'm whole just as I am. I don't need a substance to make me whole. So breathing out the feeling of wholeness and letting that saturate my body and my mind, that feeling of wholeness, right? In the form of light. But for each one of you, that alchemy is going to be different, right? It's going to be a little different, or it might be similar, but they're common themes, but they're also individual flavors of our own alchemy. So this is very similar to the Feeding Your Demons practice that we do too. And we're going to start doing Feeding Your Demons on the last Wednesday of every month, okay? So every other day will be Lojong, every other Wednesday of the month will be Lojong, and then the last Wednesday of the month, I'm going to guide you through Feeding Your Demons. You don't have to know anything about it. It's a really cool 5-step process, meditation I guide, and it's a very explicit, effective way to work with challenges and to bring healing and peace. So I wanted to let you guys know that. So I wanted to read a quotation. I'm just going to share a couple more thoughts, and then I want to open it up for discussion and to see what wants to come into the space, how this is landing for you. So with the Tonglen practice, we're really learning to develop compassion. Karuna is a Sanskrit word, karuna, K-A-R-U-N-A. And it's Ningje in Tibetan. So developing compassion for ourselves, for our loved ones, for neutral people. Maybe we just see people walking across the street. It's a really great practice. Like say you're stopped at a stoplight and you see some people driving by or walking by. Imagine sending love to them. I don't know them. Maybe breathing in. Maybe you see they've got a limp or they look tense or they're in a hurry. Breathing in their stress or their tension. Breathe it out. Breathe out love and compassion and send Lojong practitioners are always practicing. We're always practicing at the stoplight, at the market, at work, with our friends, our children, our family. You're welcome. You see, that's when the practice starts to be not delineated between the cushion and off the cushion. We're blending the meditative practice with the post-meditative practice. That happened to me today. Always on Wednesdays I'm thinking about Tonglen more than the other days of the week, right, in Lojong, because I'm going to share with you. And it dawned on me to practice sending love to a couple people who were walking across the street at the stoplight. And I was like, shame on you. You haven't done this in a really long time. It's such a great practice. You know. See if you can remember to do it in those moments of the day when normally you'd just be thinking, oh, hurry up. You know, I need to go. You're in my way. Because people can be really annoying. I mean, didn't Sartre say hell is other people? So this is transforming that. Heaven is other people. We find heaven here by sending love and good wishes to others. So that's what this practice of Lojong is all about. I wanted to read you a very powerful quote from my teacher, Lama Tsultrim Alioni. This is from her book, Feeding Your Demons. When difficulties come up in our lives, we can see them either as obstacles or as grist for the mill that has potential to bring us closer to awakening. Without these challenges and without recognizing our own faults, we would spend our lives waiting for ideal circumstances instead of genuinely working on ourselves. In fact, our so-called enemies, those who bring up the most in us, are our greatest teachers. And instead of seeing them as demons, we could see them as gifts. So that, in a nutshell, is Lojong right there. And this is from her book, Feeding Your Demons, so you can see the idea is the same. We're feeding, not fighting, that which obstructs our experience of freedom in the world and in our inner world. You see what I mean? It's different. It's different than what we're taught in school. Why aren't we taught this earlier? What's wrong with us? Why don't we learn this earlier? Maybe you did. I didn't. Okay, so now, well, any reflections about that before I introduce the next slogan? I really wanted to share that because, you know, this Trump thing is getting old, but it's not. You know, it's really important we stay awake and we don't go to sleep to it. But we need to practice with what's going on right now. We really need to not kind of like drop into base level reactivity. You see what I mean? Like, this is our practice. This is our practice. So what do we do about it? We have to be engaged. We have to help and do our part in society, but we also have to see what capacity we can develop in here to actually welcome our so-called enemies into our heart and wish them well and wish them healing and awakening so that they can stop perpetuating suffering as well. Because in, like what the Buddha said, is those people actually deserve our greatest compassion. Why? Because they are sowing the seeds for negative karma in the future, negative repercussions in the future. Those are the people who need our greatest compassion. Not easy. But test yourself. Test yourself. What do you think? Yeah.
I'm a total beginner, and I'm struggling a lot with what's happening in our country and you know, the repercussions with Trump and everything. And I'm very active. Well, I'm fairly active anyway. Yeah. And I'm definitely, like I said, a beginner doing this practice. So I don't think I can do what you said, the advanced thing of trying to feel the compassion for him yet. So I'm not sure when I'll ever be able to do that. But in the meantime, I want to do something. I just think that I'd have to take baby steps.
Yeah.
I can actually, I'm not sure I can do what we did, trying to work with him.
Mm-hmm. As the object.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. Sometimes these things can just happen and we're like, wow, I just popped into feeling compassion for the most horrible person on the planet, and it's profound. You don't have to be like a long-time practitioner to actually have that happen. But there's also a lot said for progression. And so the traditional way that one progresses on the Tonglen practice path is to first flash on that luminous nature of open, spacious emptiness at your heart, that Buddha nature, the bodhicitta, the spirit of awakening. First do that because that's your home base, and that's this feeling of like, ultimate truth. Like that's true, right? Like you could call it God, you could call it the goddess, you can call it creator, you can call it just my true nature. It's the ground of your being, essential nature. Flashing on that. Then the second stage is to breathe with your own suffering. So laying the foundation, being able to do that for yourself, because if you can attend to yourself, then you can be more efficient, effective, and attend to others, right? So that's the second step. The third step is to work with a loved one, because that's easier. Sometimes easier than the first. So, like I often work with my kids. They're really easy to work with. Then your so-called enemy. Then I work with my husband. No, I'm kidding. Sometimes he's there and sometimes he's there. He would laugh if he heard that. So I know this is live streaming. Just kidding. Haha, no, I'm not. So that enemy, but you don't get to the enemy until you've really laid a good foundation of, okay, I get the breath, I know what it's like when I spin out, and I have to come back. Did you feel how it's a mindfulness practice? Just like shamatha, just like the beginning of just attending to the sensations of the breath. We're doing that, but we're piling on more dimensionality, opening, using the imagination to cultivate qualities of compassion and love and understanding. It's like shamatha, mindfulness of the breath is juggling one ball. Then you add a couple more balls into the mix, which actually can be easier to get the mind to focus because it has to do more things. Anyway, so that next step is the enemy. So you can see, you usually don't get, you can do this whole arc in one sitting, spend a few minutes with each phase, or you can go directly to one. Like, oh, I am so locked in my own self-hatred right now, I just need to breathe with it. Let it be on the go, on the spot, Tonglen for yourself. Or your stepmom just called you and chewed you out, and you're feeling so much hatred and anger towards her. Hang up the phone, or while she's yelling at you, on the spot, practicing Tonglen, in the moment, as needed. Then the fifth stage is opening up the full dimensionality to all beings. So imagining breathing all the suffering. So that makes Trump kind of easy, actually, right? Because you're breathing and you imagine it's just exponentially grows. You're breathing in the suffering of all beings in the form of smoke. That's why the texture is helpful, because it gives the mind something to connect with. Texture, breathing it in, breathing out, healing and light, and I imagine it like a big blanket enveloping the whole world. You can do whatever works for you. That's the last and final phase. And the key to it is recognizing in all those various phases that just like me, that person, those beings, all beings want to be free of suffering. Nobody wants to be free. Nobody wants to suffer. That's the Dalai Lama, one of his main teachings, is we all share that. Our simple humanity is that none of us want to suffer. Even the people who are creating the worst karmic repercussions through their horrendous behavior, they're doing it because somehow they think it's going to get them out of suffering. It's ridiculous. And Like the Tibetans say, oh, nyingje, oh, compassion. Because those are the people who are going to really get it. So let's practice Tonglen for them. You see how that's really mature? It's really mature. Yeah.
I just thought the quote was interesting because talking about not waiting for like an ideal situation to come to you.
Good.
I mean, I was coming to meditation last year pretty regularly, but this is my first time coming this year, and I feel like I had forgotten to. I don't know. It's kind of like confronting your demons, I guess, and like sitting with them, and that's when you really understand like that you can deal with them, rather than like waiting for something to change externally to you. And somehow that will solve the issue. It's like, I don't know, you can't really wait for that, I guess, to stop your own suffering from that issue, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. Yeah. Amen. Anyone else? Yeah, Jean-Paul.
I guess it's kind of connected to what a lot of other people have been saying, but when I was thinking about, well, first of all, I don't like the word enemy for me. I don't really have any enemies per se. Right. I suppose if I was like on a battlefield or something, somebody's trying to shoot me, yes, they're my enemy. And I understand the concept of these people are suffering themselves when they're doing these hurtful things or whatever. But I was thinking about a friend of mine when you said to work with somebody who I interacted with today, on some political stuff. And I know he cares about people and he's trying to be in service to people. And I understand why he thinks what he thinks to some extent. But I also feel like a lot of the people that I know that have certain views, they're grown people. They've got a lot of trauma, a lot of history, a lot of reasons for feeling the way that they do, and I feel like I'm wasting my energy trying to change them or to bring them around to some other way of thinking. I feel like I should be spending my energy on people that are more like on the fence or are just so suffering they need help. So I don't know how that's connected to what we're talking about. Somehow it feels like it is.
Well, maybe you're realizing something, a truth for you. Maybe you can shift and open the dimensionality of your work to open more into that direction. Maybe that's what is your calling right now. Doesn't it feel like we're all being called to kind of pop it open a little bit more, to take more risks, to do something that we've been putting off? I mean, that's what I'm getting right now from you, is that I think you're right. Yeah. So then for you, then you'll find how that looks for you. I don't know what that's going to look like for you, but you probably already right now are getting a sense of what that's going to look like for you. Maybe it just takes a call tomorrow. Call somebody, offer something. Yeah, that's good.
So,
yeah.
I was reflecting on the spiritual bypass, right? Like there's this notion of anatta, like non-self or no-self, right?
Yeah.
Where I think about my identity, like I'm Mexican, no I'm not really, right? Or I'm an immigrant, or I am all these different facets of my identity that if we go back to what you were saying, Shununtia, right? There's like it's emptiness, right?
Right.
But then it's almost like this traversing from different dimensions of being and non-being, but there's an intersection where it gets political, it gets committed, right? It's like a committed Buddhism, and that is where we need to practice, right?
Yes.
That's where it's at.
Yes.
Like not shying away from the reality that we can do this with the precepts, right?
Good.
Through Buddhists, through the Dharma, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's a way to face this reality, this new paradigm, right?
Yeah.
And I'm hearing so frequently people say like, well, like on the one hand, Trump is waking everybody up, and it's like he's this villain, and he's the archetypal villain, and this is the dawning of the new humanity. But at the same time, I feel like, why does it need to be so hard? Because it is hard. It's work. Why can't it be gentle and sweet? Why can't we imagine humanity awakening and evolving differently? Why do we have to make it so hard? And so it's that, I want it nice and sweet, gentle. And maybe I can maybe my relationship to it can be sweet and gentle.
Yeah. There you go. That's beautiful, thank you. I would say yes to everything you said. Yes. Yeah, where the intersection is, it's such a great image that you brought up. That's where the rubber hits the road. That's where we're existing. We took form, we took birth. We are in this body. You are in your body, I'm in my body. We are not all one. We are different. And yet, on an absolute level, we are all interconnected. We are not separate. We are one. But on a relative level, we are not one. You're going to go home to your house. I'm going to go home to my house tonight. My kids aren't your kids. We are separate. We are different. So it's important not to spiritually bypass. It's a great word. It's a great idea because in Buddhism, I think we have to really heal and move on from a tendency to just kind of get high on the cushion and just bliss out and be like, oh, that's everybody's karma. They have to deal with their own karma. I remember somebody once asked the Dalai Lama, I don't understand this karma thing because what happens if I hear about a child being abused? Do I just say that's their karma, from negative karma from a past life? And the Dalai Lama said, no. How do you know it's not your karma to help them? The karma is all interrelated in many complex ways, and it's not just a 1 + 2 = 3 formula. And even the Buddha said that the karma is so complex, that he looked back, forward in all directions. And somebody asked him, can you predict the future? No, because the matrix is set up one way now, but what if that little butterfly waves its wing over there, or that one does there, but that one doesn't there? It's ever changing. No one can predict it. Okay, so now I'm going far out, but on a relative level, we have to do the work. We have to be engaged and not go to sleep. And we have to really help people who need help. We need to be compassionate, on the ground, human beings, find ways where we can be more effective in this very short life we have. We don't have time to waste. And yet at the same time, hold a larger view so we don't get so... Earlier you said you're feeling, I can't quite remember, but the feeling was caged in or too serious, right? So, because then we can fall into the serious disease, right, where everything's so heavy and we're miserable and we're actually not doing really great work because we're pissed off all the time. How do we get our view, our big perspective, and remember the humor and the love and the deeper truth amongst that all. So in Dharma, that's called the two truths. Relative truth, absolute truth. Relative truth is, it sucks, suffering, samsara is suffering, we're all in this together, whether we like it or not. I'm me, you're you, we're separate. But absolute truth is that actually everything's already liberated. There's nothing wrong. Good and bad are dualistic, relative level concepts. And that this is the divine play, whether we like it or not. This has always been this way, it will always be this way. It's tragic, and yet there's a view beyond birth and death that we can also lock into or drop into in our deeper practice when we have that space. But then when we come out of that space to be fully engaged and awake in the world, I feel like we need both. We need to be able to hold both views. Didn't a great writer say, oh, I'm forgetting his name, it'll come to me. But this quote, I love this quote because this is where it really helps explain what I'm talking about. And that is, a sign of true intelligence or genius is the ability to hold two seemingly opposing ideas in the mind at once. Mark Twain. That's relative and ultimate truth. Like, I went on the Women's March. Yeah, in it. Feeling good and engaged and angry all at the same time. And also feeling the bigger view, right? Yes?
I really struggle with this duality between like the absolute truth and the relative one. That I feel like, I don't know if it's my own interpretation, but I would compare it to how I perceive the reality of the world and my quest in the world, and then my more spiritual quest, and like the absolute kind of, desire that is more internal. And I find that it's not so much difficult to like understand them with the mind, so to hold both ideas and to experience it in a non-stressful way. I find this is just also a lot of stress, I find, and kind of anxiety and struggle, balancing between those two truths.
Yeah. Wait till you have kids. Shut up, I'm trying to meditate. Yeah, it's hard. But that's for me like the juncture point that I can't remember. What's your name again? Fernando. Mentioned also here between what you're talking about, this kind of absolute purpose, what's my spiritual purpose, and then what's my worldly purpose, is this Ningje, is this compassion. Because awakening into the spiritual experience of ultimate enlightenment cannot be done without Ningje, without compassion. When the heart's not open, nothing's going to happen. The juice isn't there. And then also bringing that compassion, living life with a compassionate heart, with being able to be of benefit in some way through your work is very important. And so that's where they can meet, and maybe the struggle can surrender, but can lighten a bit and loosen up somehow, if you can understand it. Because I think maybe the struggle is coming from a misunderstanding of what awakening is, right? It's a box, it's an idea. It's an idea that's boxing you in. See if you can chew on that. Byron Katie wrote a great book called Loving What Is. I recommend everybody get it and read it. We suffer because we're not loving what is. We're fighting reality. It's a good book. Yeah, Rich.
So I read Norman Miller's book, the Lojong book. I have it on.
Yeah, very interesting. Zen perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the same as what you're...
Yeah, same slogans, but
Okay.
he's bringing in his Zen
And
perspective.
in particular, he talks about giving up hope.
Mm-hmm.
He puts a lot of emphasis on giving up hope.
Yeah.
And I've just been thinking about that a lot lately.
Norman Fisher, not
Fisher.
Norman Miller. Yeah, Norman Miller's. I was like, Norman Miller wrote a book on Lojong? Norman Fisher.
But yeah, do you have anything to add on that about giving up hope? Like what does it mean for you?
Yeah. If I answered from kind of the Dharma seat, it would be like, if you see the Buddha in the road, kill him. That type of no hope. Like, hope is an idea. Hope is wanting something that's not here right now. So it's another construct. It's another mental construct. And full awakening, full enlightenment is not a thought. It doesn't happen in the mundane mind way of thinking. It's beyond thought. it's actually the collapse of the dualistic thinking into something beyond good, bad, right, wrong, here, then, future, past. It's beyond all the constructs of duality. So hope, that's my understanding, especially in Zen, is that koan. If you see the Buddha in the road, kill him. Because you're hoping, oh, the Buddha, projecting all this, oh, I have to bow to the Buddha and put him up on a shrine, and, that's all just like ultimate Dharma is just about throwing, darts at all those balloons and popping until you have no thought, no mind, no Buddha. What was your face before you were born? That's another koan from Zen. Find that. What's that? But then I think on a relative level, not the Dharma seat, but maybe the activist seat or the worldly seat is we have to have hope. We have to have some form of hope that things can get better. And I hear on the radio and lots of activists saying, this is hard, like Winona LaDuke. I don't know if anybody heard her on your call on public radio a couple days ago, really touching. Oh my God, it's 9:05. I'm sorry. It's such heart-wrenching stuff. She's doing such important work. But at the end, she said, I have hope. I have a good life. I have a great family. I have beautiful land and gardens, and I love my work, and I love my family and people. I'm connected with my ancestors and my purpose, and I have hope. I mean, if she can have hope, can't I? Right? So that's more of maybe the relative ground level hope, that it's important to have a sense of hope. And I heard a historian say, the world seems worse now, but it's actually better than it has been. It's just that the media, that the news it's all front and center. It's just full on always blasted towards us. That was helpful. And that gave me hope.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, all of you, thank you so much for your presence and your contributions. And let's just take a moment to drop in and we can close by dedicating any positive energy, any hope and good prayers and merit energy that's come from our meeting tonight and our practices. Dedicate it for the welfare of all beings. Like a drop of water dropping into the vast ocean, boundless, good energy becomes limitless, and we offer it with no hope.